Übersteuert. Sehr laut.
Hey, we're live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our screen and to your screen. And today we have the CRM conversation number 102. Boy, we play our way. And it's the second time we have our expert and dear appreciated colleague from Latin America, the special knowledge man who is not just in Latin America, but in Florida's. But he is the guy I'd like to ask and would share some of his brain with you on how is CRM and CX in Latin America's, in Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking areas we see from Europe as South America and Middle America. Welcome, Jesus. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Happy to be here with you guys. I think this is the second time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, what changed since?
COVID. Inflation, politics everywhere, Actually, since last we spoke, we were talking about, how, the concept of CRM in LATAM, and the different levels of industries that are doing, CRM, fintech, commerce, e-commerce, retail, those markets are growing like crazy in Latin America, of course, Bitcoin is everywhere, open banking, that's growing a lot, and the last mile, the delivery of products and packages, that's something that is exploding in Latin America. And of course, many companies, they are trying to do digital transformation, but they're still working on it. COVID, people needed to sell more and reduce costs. I don't call that digital transformation. I call that surviving. And of course, there is a awareness and there's tons of opportunities in deploying CX from the cultural aspect. Not from the technology point of view. So there's a lot happening, of course, in Latin America from the CX perspective. The culture, the employees, BPOs and call center outsourcing are growing as well because companies are shifting the cost to them, and also the regulars, Salesforce, Sendex, Freshworks, Hotspot, they're growing as well in the region, and also you see a lot of companies doing omni-channel consumer data platforms, from from local vendors, so Infobip, which is from Croatia, they're selling like crazy in Latin America. They compete with Twilio. And there is a Senti1 that they do social media. I think they're also from somewhere in Europe, Central Europe. They're doing a lot of stuff in Latin America, and you have Sales Manango as well, which is a marketing automation B2C that integrates with VTEX and Shopify. They're also doing strides. They're doing a lot of stuff. So so that is everything is moving along, but everybody being cautioned, because of COVID, the inflation, which is a global aspect.
Take a step back, Jesus, because we jump-started you into the topic, such as what has changed, and like a waterfall, you gave us a a first impact, which is splendid. But for those which have not had a chance to meet you before, perhaps a bit about your career, your passions, and why you became an expert in Latin America. And let me give you one anecdote to start you are not aware of. When I was the product manager and the man in charge for one of the largest shows in Europe, the CRM Expo, my colleague in PR came around with some articles from a guy I hadn't a clue of called Jesus Hoyos. And he wrote so sophisticated on CRM and what's happening in the Southern American markets in Spanish. And he said, well, I put it into the translator. Wow, that's really cool stuff. I said, oh, we should ping him and ask him for some of his opinions. And probably if he drops by, we can have him as a speaker on one of our shows if it's not only able to produce something and to speak in Spanish, because therefore we have in Nuremberg not the right audience. That is when I came across the first time. So how was your career established and how you became who you are now, an expert?
Yeah, today I'm el jefe de CRM. Actually, I used to work for a company out of Orlando, Florida. It's called Data Code. We used to put together in Informix for GL a software, to do CRM. And I had the opportunity there to do many implementations back then in the States, but we sold the system to DHL, Lateinamerika, out of Florida, Fort Lauderdale here. And the whole concept was to do telemarketing campaigns or telesales, do queries, in the CRM system, make phone calls, validate addresses and everything, so you can have good quality data, so the salespeople can go out and sell DHL product and services. Okay, so based on that, I had the good opportunity to implement that in every single country in Latin America. So all the nuances, data quality, client server, moving to the cloud, Informix 4GL, compiling all those different, back then was Motif, compiling to Microsoft or Apple back then. So that was a cool learning experience, and I have to deal with, many cultures, B2B and B2C, integrated into billing system and delivery system, marketing, steering committees, multiple language, Portuguese, Spanish, English, again, different cultures. So that gave me access to learn, everything. And, and that's why, I became, attractive to Latin America. One of those flights, flying back to Miami, I came across Cambridge Technology Partners. That was in the late 90s. And I became, the regional domain partner for Latin America. Then I started to do Clarify, Civil, Bantis, Scopus, Edify, Genesis, call centers, all that kind of stuff. And I do remember, working for Bell South, Ecuador back then, that we integrated Bantif with the billing system and Genesis to do campaign management, which is outbound calls. So we can call customers 30 or 40, sometimes 20 days before their bill was due, to accelerate payment, and through the IVR, they will put a promise of days so we can accelerate, that payment, plus everything to do, to sell, telephone services, So, working with telcos back then with Civil, which was very, vertical solution. So that gave me, the chance to learn all the good things about implementing all these technologies in Latin America, And then I evolved into Salesforce, PeopleSoft, Oracle, ZOHO now and Freshworks and so on and so on and so on. I did a lot of SaaS, a lot of marketing automation, marketing segmentation with SaaS. Campaign manager was back then called. Now I think it's something orchestration, something is called now. But yeah, so I have the opportunity to work with a lot of banks, And now I work with all kinds of customers, not only in Latin America, but from South Africa to the Philippines to Europe to here in the States. And that's why I'm here in Florida, because I can jump into a plane and fly anywhere. But I haven't done that in the last 2 years.
Well, that's only self-preservation.
Yeah, so which I don't miss. I don't miss the travel, but I miss, going to the places and hang out, have the beer, the hugs, the whiskey, the cigars, the nice dinners and everything, So I think I don't know. Maybe I'll see you guys the next one. I think probably I'll go to Austin to the Soho one.
I think you may see us there. Thomas and I are planning on attending.
Yeah. So I might go to that one, which is the first one, but everything has been done remotely. So that's me, So
it's quite a pedigree.
Yeah.
That's why we like to have you around. You know your stuff, man.
I know. Plus, I have a team of people that that they deliver and execute for everything. So that's a good part of
I'm grateful that Thomas helped me a bit in my spelling in my disaster cheat sheet preparations, where I simply, let's say, did some thinking into paper, which was more or less unstructured. Now, going back to structure, you mentioned a lot in the history on client server. How is the situation from your perspective, the approach from client server to cloud? How is it in Latin America? Are there still larger organizations, mid-sized organizations, or smaller, keeping on their known client server CRM solutions? Or are they already gone into the cloud?
No, people are still in that process. There's three, and this has to do a lot with what we're going to talk very soon about pricing. Okay, remember when you client server, you buy a perpetual license. Yeah. And that was for investment, and then you have the cost of maintaining that hardware and that software. Okay, so you still have many small businesses, group of companies that local to Latin America are still doing that, and they're trying to figure out how to move to the cloud. Okay, so that's work in progress. But at the same time, you have a lot of companies that are still using a lot of open source. Okay, a lot of open source. And open source, it could be client server, it could be 100% in the cloud, or it could be everything local in a server somewhere in the office. Okay, so that's open source is you see that a lot in the Andean region, some places of Brazil, Central America as well. But open source is also is big. It's part of the equation. Okay?
Yeah, fair enough. Going a bit into that, the open source solutions they utilize in South America, in the countries where you find it, what is it? I know 2013, more than 10 years ago, I did some research in open source solutions, and what was then on SourceForge.net was utilized in so there were some bigger ones or more well known, like Compare. These days it would be Odo and some former sugar folks. Yeah.
You still have some legacy sugar people. You have Odo, vTiger. Okay. Yeah. You have people that have frameworks of open source, Amazon or Microsoft, and they're building on top of that. And they're using low-code, no-code application as well on top of that. Mm-hmm. In terms of the traditional technology stack, being React or Java, whatever those technology stack, but people are still using those. There's two main factors in Latin America, inflation and the currency exchange. So this is life in those two things are, it's part of life in Latin America forever. So if you're a local company, you don't have the big budgets, you're going to look into, technologies that is going to help you do that, reduce the cost, That might not be scalable. That might not be 100% what you need. But in terms of pricing, yeah, it works. Okay.
Do you see an increasing trend towards open source?
No, I don't think it's increasing. I think it's part of the equation. People, hey, I have client server, but if I move to open source in the cloud, it's going to be a lot less than buying, or going 100% to the cloud. Again, depending on the type of company. If it's more local, a local multinational, that probably would be what they do. But if you have a big group of companies that are growing, they might go 100% to the cloud, because Amazon, Google, Oracle, they're all growing, and they are creating data centers in Latin America, and they also have the edge of the internet, whatever that is called, I forgot. They also putting that together. They're doing that in Central America. I know Amazon is doing that in Latin America, in Central America and Puerto Rico, the Caribbean. So all that, again, it's part of the question. It's not one versus the other one. It's part of the question. How to do, and it is to lower the cost. I mean, that's the main goal. It's not part of the digital transformation, but they have it as part of the cost. Okay. Again, the currency exchange and inflation,
which cost and pricing should be. Well, this is a panel convo that we are planning for a long time, for which we don't find the panelists so far. So this seems to be a candidate. Nobody's there.
Volunteer.
So okay. You've been shanghaied.
Yeah, you are now volunteered.
Yeah,
but let's put it.
Ask me the question.
Let's stick a little to the cloud and on-premise thing. I recently came across a statistics that said that there are around 11% of organizations that have moved from on-premise to the cloud. Is this something similar that you see? I mean, that's a pretty low number, actually.
As I can tell you that, I don't know the statistic, but I haven't yet. I talk a lot to the marketing people, and when we cross, the line to IT for OPEX versus CAPEX, trying to figure out, they have, multi-year projects to move to the cloud. Okay. And that's in the works. Okay. But today there are some mission critical applications today that for whatever the reason, they don't want to move to the cloud. It's expensive to move to the cloud. They have data issues, depending on the industry, and a lot of people, they are still jealous of the data. They don't want to move it. If it's working here, why move it over there? Okay. But they'll still have that process. I'm talking for the small company that have, 20, 100 employees, to the multi, group multinational company that have 20 brands, but it's all relative, and I'm working with small companies that use Zoho One, and they tell me I want to move to the cloud, meaning everything, everything. I don't want to deal with Excel on any server. We're gonna go everything with crumbs, and everything has to be in OneDrive or up in the cloud. It's depending on the mentality, the mindset, but you get a little bit of everything, And again, if you look at of everything in Latin America from Google, Amazon, Azure, they're growing like crazy. They're moving a lot of companies to the cloud, and there's a lot in there. Just SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft. They're full, just moving their own customer base to the cloud. And that's going to take a long time. So sometimes, does Microsoft have to compete with Salesforce and SAP? Maybe not, because they're just busy moving people to the cloud. And now there's a package. You can get Microsoft, 365, which has everything that you probably want. Okay. and plus you're going to get assured, you're going to get other services. So when you put everything together, it's not just moving to the cloud, it's the financing, it's the reducing the cost, billing locally, all that is part of the equation. If you can bill locally, in the local currency, and you can provide, 60, 90 days payment terms, or maybe you can do financing, there's a lot of variables that you have to look into it in moving to the cloud, so that makes a lot of sense. And we know this is another issue. This is not unique to Latin America. We can talk about moving to the cloud, but we don't have the people to go to the cloud. We don't. Look at Salesforce, with all the trailhead and everything they're looking, and look at everybody else. I mean, and now with the Great Resignation, we don't have those resources out there. We don't. Even if we want to move to the cloud, and I'm talking, infrastructure. Infrastructure. Yes, you can buy Salesforce or Zoho One or Microsoft and put it out there in the cloud, but that doesn't mean that you're moving to the cloud.
For me, it's the first question where I'm really concerned. If I see the environment and I see the concern people are having here in the Rhine-Main area where I live in Germany, there are several very big nodes for the internet. The most important high-speed nodes in Frankfurt, the D6, and there is also a lot of data center technology in the Frankfurt area. At least I know 10, and they are building on some areas. Google is investing heavily in Hanau in a very large data center, but all of them are not investing in solar energy or in, let's say, consistent technology, self-supplying ideas, how they get their energy in the tank. And one of my sons, the littlest, which is already 24, in age, and he's larger than me in size, not in broad, but height. And he said simply, I don't know, in your industry, nobody takes care about the energy they consume. If they are supporting all these Tinder, Twitch, and all that stuff, each move on a smartphone, each tap on a tablet, each one a time you are going into the cloud and sharing data with a lot of people, you are consuming a lot more in energy. And I was wondering if in Latin America, people out of the experience from the other territories and countries are getting a leapfrogging opportunity and act smarter and cleverer in
not really. I mean, you might see, Brazil is very much, they have their own data centers and requirement, and sometimes you cannot share data depending on the industry. You cannot share data from one city to another city or one region of Brazil versus the other one. But I've seen some initiatives to do that. Apply green energy to reduce the cost and save energy. And I see that in some places in Mexico, Costa Rica, but there's no mandate. Okay, people are doing it. Again, it's part of the equation. If I'm able to take advantage of it, perfect. But I think we need a lot of incentives to start doing that. Okay, doing that. So that's like right now. Gas is expensive. And we having the conversation. We having the conversation here. Now or never, we got to move to electric cars or hybrid cars. Because the demand needs to be there. So that's something that is going to be important from that point of view. But all that movement, and there's another side to that, besides, the energy, which comes into place, reducing costs and passing that cost to the consumer, or to the vendor who's buying the CRM or the MarTech solution. Is the data, where the data is going. I was on my drinking coffee with Jesus Hoyos on Friday. I have the CEO from Auronics, and they do messaging applications, and they do WhatsApp. Last week, the WhatsApp app became public. Anybody can use it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna give my information to WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm not gonna do shopping. This is me. Okay.
Making it free, basically, making it free for businesses, basically,
because
they become their product too. Yeah.
I don't know how that data is traveling. I don't know where it's going. Where's the transparency of that? So that is going to require more computing, more AI, more machine learning, more whatever you want to call it. So there's, I need to know where my data is moving. So that's me. Okay, and WhatsApp is it's huge in Latin America. Here in the States it's SMS, and there's Google messaging, Apple messaging is growing in the region as well. But again, that's where the data is going. So that's what I like the approach from ZOHO One, that privacy is part of the strategy. Okay, versus we're gonna do privacy. That is part of that. I still don't know what that means. I haven't paid attention. I know we've been here and there, talking to ZOHO about it. But the details, I know they have the framework, but that's part of, if you bundle all of that, the data centers, energy, how you going to protect the data, backups, the infrastructure, DevOps, all that, marketing, you buy another company, you buy a second company, all that costs you money. And that's, listen, I moved from Salesforce to HubSpot to ZOHO One in my company, Solvis. Okay? Because of cost, not because it was in the cloud. Okay? And plus we use Microsoft Teams for, don't yell at me, okay? But
I won't.
But from the corporate perspective, I had a lot of issues using Google because but it wasn't secure enough, for big companies. And guess what I was doing? I was inviting customers with their domain and said, no, send it to my personal email. And my NDA said, you cannot share information in personal emails. So you know what? Let's go to Microsoft, because everybody have Microsoft. Okay. So again, and with Microsoft, we replaced Slack, and Slack was expensive. So when we moved to Microsoft, I got everything, the same. When I moved from Salesforce to HubSpot, I moved to ZOHO One, I got everything. But again, we're a small company. We're 35 people. It fits for us. Okay, it fits for us. Again, so it's Salesforce is good, HubSpot are good as well, but keep that in perspective.
Out of curiosity, now if you're on ZOHO One, why don't you use Click?
Because everybody uses Teams. It's difficult to have other companies use Click.
Okay, so it's because of the clients,
we collaborate a lot. So we have ZOHO projects within Teams, and we can collaborate. We're looking to not use SharePoint. I use the documentation in ZOHO projects because it's easier. But again, it's all relative from that point of view,
How many of these issues do you think are because of many national boundaries? We don't hear quite as much of these difficulties when we talk about countries in the EU, for example. They have a structure now that allows them to exchange and pass data more easily. Infrastructure deals between nations are a little bit easier. Would something like that in Latin America be welcome? Would it be useful? Is there a place for it?
Nah, it's going to be difficult because unfortunately, we're divided. Mexico is different from Brazil, and they have different, digital transformation maturity.
Right.
Argentina is different as well. Mexico is more corporate. Argentina is more this a startup environment.
Right.
Brazil, you get both. Then you have Colombia, and we still have Venezuela, Bolivia, partly Ecuador, Nicaragua. They are still they're lagging behind many other things. It's difficult.
What about Chile?
Chile is from the startup point of view and corporate, they're doing great. But again, depending on politics, the currency, inflation, all that, the geopolitical, aspect take a lot of consideration. Now, saying that, there's a lot of incentive, to do a lot of software development, to do a lot of outsourcers, BPOs, through Latin America, from the Guyanas down to Argentina, in places in Tijuana, Mexico, the near shore, so that's growing, and that is reducing, and you see a lot of movement of companies, so that's Salesforce. I have a huge office in Argentina when they bought MuleSoft, and when they bought Marketing Cloud in Brazil. Okay, so they're taking advantage of that as well. But again, it's all relative from that point of view.
Yeah. Now they have even a decent office in Frankfurt after they bought Tableau. Elsewise, in the ages before, they couldn't afford a real office. They were always in these service office for a worldwide leading CRM company at a place like Frankfurt. Well, cost conscious, you could call it, but it looked crappy. Yeah.
Well,
now it's looking a lot nicer. Yeah. But they have to pay the rent, and the customers have to pay the bills.
Yeah, and that's a key thing with pricing. And I think as we move along, customers, they want simplicity in pricing.
Yeah.
And if you go, I think the last time I looked at Microsoft and Salesforce, and when you go to the pricing page and you go down at the bottom and you download that PDF file that have all the add-ons, it's like 30 plus pages.
Yeah. What sort of number did you have in mind? That's what they're asking you.
One page? I don't know. Keep it simple. I don't know. I don't know if it's a magical page, but there's add-on, tras add-on, tras add-on.
This is like the price list of a German manufactured car, either from Stuttgart area or from Munich area. You have three
Microsoft. Microsoft has a big PDF file.
Area.
Yeah. But then you have the pricing for each different cloud, and that needs to be solved. And one of my major concerns and a big critic of this, you need to have a local pricing. You need to have the price for Mexico, the price for Brazil, and that needs to be public. I know, I won't say the vendors, that they have emerging prices in other areas. Okay, and I know that the more infrastructure you have, the more databases, the more clouds, the more expensive it's going to be. That's fine. But I have customers that I move them from ZOHO CRM to ZOHO One, because when you do the math, it becomes not that expensive to move to ZOHO One, but they have everything. They don't have to use Zoom. They don't have to use, everything is in there. Yeah. It might not be perfect. It might be clumsy because you're thinking, you're coming from another mentality, but it works. It's there. And let me give you one quick example with ZOHO One. To put this in perspective, I gotta give you example of Sendex and Salesforce and the others in terms of the advantages of Freshworks, of the pricing. When you use ZOHO One for customer engagement, CRM, and expand that functionality, it comes with integration for Google Ads. Okay, so I can have a Google Ads. Okay, bring that into a landing page and a form. Bring me the attributes of Google, the Google Ads, and move them directly to the commerce site or to the opportunity. And in real time, I know the asset that is performing. I can make decision at this moment. And I can go to the Google app, click, and I can see, the in real time, the data that I see in Google Ads, dashboard. When I compare that and I see it, wow, I have real data. I can make decision of the performance of my ads. And I can do that with ZOHO Social as well, using Facebook. Okay, I get the real data. Now, if I want to do that with other tools, arm and a leg, and plus I have to integrate. So saying that, but let me give you the key point here. I have the marketing agency, I have the brand manager, I have the marketing manager, I have the sales operation, all discussing everything inside ZOHO One, looking at ZOHO Analytics and looking at the data in real time. That is simplicity.
So you would say that you have that not only in ZOHO One, there par excellence, but also in Marketing Plus to a certain extent, because it covers a lot of the bits and pieces you just mentioned.
Yes.
Yes.
But as long as I have, we have implemented this with many customers in Mexico. You can do, ZOHO One. What I just told you is 10%. I don't have ZOHO Marketing Plus. I don't have just ZOHO Campaigns. I have a blue ocean of many of those applications that I can use at a given time, and I don't have to go to, to all those, 30 pages of a PDF to know what else do I have to buy from the vendor to implement something. And look at pricing. Can they bill me? Can I buy for 30 days? Can I buy for the campaign? No, you got to buy for 3 years, So, the pricing needs to be agile. Pricing needs to be per usage. Pricing needs to be simple, usage, or per employee. It has to be different. So, and that's something, the emerging markets, Latino, and I hate to say that word, emerging market, but in Latin America, you can do it. ZOHO One, Freshworks, because they started in India, they understand that, they can do that. Some companies are working towards that as well, like Infobit, that's coming from Croatia. Salesmanango as well, they're coming from Poland and Spain. They understand that.
Okay.
But if you're buying something from the United States, you're going to get the pricing from the United States, and you have to calculate the exchange rate of that week or that day to figure out if you had the budget to buy it.
I recall one of your statements when we had together in February the briefings from Sugar, and you were dedicatedly asking for more smarter pricing for the Southern Americas, as you were very concerned, if I recall right, that the pricing is not fitting the Latin American markets. And it would be a fantastic example, such as doing the same stuff you just described, I do on the left side with ZOHO One, and you just do it with Sugar and the tools they deliver you, and what you can achieve, and what you need on extra, and whom you have to pay in extra. And if it's working, it's cool. But my concern would be that it's even a step ahead, such as that the guys who thought it through and were not the fastest in the market, such our Indian friends, are not the first ones in the row, but they do it their way, and they do it in two separate ways. The one is buying more, the other is making more by themselves. That they have covered it all, thought it through, such as, okay, it's not the sexiest, let's say, UI, but you can work through all of it. That's a ZOHO story. And the others, what are they doing? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the reason why I'm asking that for Sugar CRM, by the way, on Friday, Volker is going to be on Tomando Café with Jesus Hoyos, drinking coffee. So I'm going to ask that question as a follow-up,
Do that,
so stay tuned for that one.
And
of course, it's going to be in English, so that will be fun.
And cut out the answer, please, because I'm sitting in a plane, I can't attend.
Okay, well, it's going to be recorded. But let's take that as a scenario. you know, and let's use Sugar CRM, you know. If you're going to buy Salesforce automation, okay, you know, you have to think of marketing automation. You know, they're both together, you know. So now if you have, you know, Sugar CRM or Salesforce with Pardot or, any of these tools that already, you know, have this integration working together, you know, why do I have to buy 2 different products? Why do I have to buy a connector? You know, I want to improve my marketing and sales operations. You know, and you know, and one is based on number of contacts and emails. But hey, hold on. But I'm no longer doing emails. I gotta do WhatsApp, SMS, and chat. You know, landing pages is whatever. It's no longer for B2B. Oh, you gotta buy A, B, C, and D. Oh, you gotta buy that from the marketplace. Then out of the sudden, you know, I'm missing on everything, because if you look at everything's happening today with conversational AI, you know, with chats and bots and everything, why do I need a traditional landing page with the thank you page and the click? You know, yeah, it's there, but you know, we evolve. You know, so do I need to buy something else if my market changes tomorrow and I have more volume? You know, why I get 1,000 free users, you know, in marketing automation, but I gotta pay, you know, I don't know, 220 per user in Sales Cloud, you know, or the CRM application, whatever that is. So that needs to be solved, you know, and that's why in Sugar CRM I asked, okay, if I'm gonna buy Sugar CRM as a whole, you know, where is the pricing as a whole? That's my question, you know. So companies needs to start thinking about this, you know, because more and more, you know, now, because we're building ecosystem in customer engagement, you know, your pricing needs to be based on the ecosystem, and you know, it doesn't, you know, it needs to be simplified, it needs to be agile, it needs to be, you know, that makes sense, you know, it needs to be 2 + 1
it's quite
equal 3, you know, simple.
It's quite an interesting question, because where did we come from? Back then in the, let's say, early 2000s, when cloud was not that much of a topic, everybody complained that there was a simple price, but they are paying for everything, the suite. Hey, if I don't want to pay for the suite, I'm just using this Salesforce automation module of yours. So why should I pay for the service part as well? What you are postulating right now sounds like getting back there.
Yeah, Amazon is like that. You know, I have customers using Amazon. I get a report from Amazon. Hey, if you do A, B, and C, you can reduce money. You know, if you buy this and add this, you can reduce money. You know, you can, you know, the amount of money that you're going to spend per, and they give you options. You know, and you will see it makes sense. You might not have the budget to do at that moment, but they give you options. So if I'm going to buy, you know, 20 modules, you know, I'm only going to use, you know, 10 of them or 3. I need the capability nowadays to be agile and move to the next module without paying something else.
Yeah, but that means you are paying it right away.
But if you look, when you do your math and you look at, you know, what Freshworks is doing, because they're doing it, and ZOHO
as well,
you know, you can buy everything, and you do, you know, and when you sit down and do the math and you put that in front of a you know, a chief financial officer or the guy who's doing purchasing, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
You know, it makes a better deal. Again, it's not perfect. Again, this is the small businesses, mid-market companies who are growing. You know, if you have the large budget and you have your multinational company, that you got to go enterprise, and that's another topic. Okay, but talking, you know, in our geographies, you know, company needs to be flexible. And not only that, I mean, I talk to people who are using ZOHO One in Montana and Utah. They don't have a lot of money, and these are people who have, you know, 4 or 5 different companies, you know, 100 person each. You know, and they're experts. You know, this is Joe Farmer in Utah. You know, he's implementing and selling ZOHO. You know, in somewhere in Utah and Montana, they need that flexibility of pricing. You know, especially now with inflation.
Yeah, and they are doing one, or what are they doing?
Oh, they recommending, you know, the CRM Plus and ZOHO One. Those are when we did the roundtables back in Austin. I was impressed because they said, yeah, I'm buying it because of pricing and it gives me everything that I need. You know, so, and now that ZOHO One has the same interface and Freshworks is doing the same, you know, Microsoft is doing the same as well, you know, so in terms of the user interface and look and feel, you know, one common data model, you know.
That's key,
I think the key here is that, you know, company, doesn't matter if you're pitching the enterprise, the small business, companies you're growing, different, multiple geographies. You need to tailor your pricing for that local geography, and you need to be agile. And you need to provide options. Don't make it complicated. Don't make it complicated for me to add on something or an upgrade. Make it simple.
I already hear the complaint of the vendor saying, okay, if I have local pricing with the local specifics, so why then these companies, because they are all screwed, as screwed as I am, so they will look for the subsidiary with the cheapest pricing and then buy for everyone from there. This is the outcry that I'm already hearing.
I know, but you know, I like, you know, talking to Raju, you know, the chief strategy officer from ZOHO. You know, he told me this every time. You know, we built infrastructure to lower the cost every day, and we can expand, you know, to other geographies. It's if we were about to build my infrastructure in the United States, just for the U.S. market, I cannot expand into other geographies. You know, I cannot expand into other geographies. You know, something that I like to mention a lot. You know, many years ago, you know, there used to be a CRM from Argentina. It's called Telesoft. Okay, and they have a CRM module sales that included guess what? Collections. Okay. So part of the selling process is doing the collections, and it will integrate to your back office. Well, where is collection today? It's in the back office, you know, in books, in inventory, you know, in the accounting part of it, you know, and so that's something that is designed for the local market with local pricing and everything, you know. So when I was looking at Salesforce and Bantif and, you know, people saw CRM back then and all these schools, you know, no, you gotta, you know, build the integration. You got to do this. It's going to cost you another, you know, $50K, another that. And I said, but we have to collect. No, that's not part of best practices. I don't care. It's what the local market is asking me to do.
We need. Do it for us.
Exactly.
Best practices is getting more customers.
It is a best practice, but
and the reason I'm saying that, when you look at software, you know, it doesn't matter if it's call center or CRM or market that is coming outside the United States, they get that. They understand that. ZOHO is the case. Infobit is the case. Sales Marango is the case. They get that. I mean, it's you know, they get it. You know, so because they sell to the market, you know, part of that. And
they underestimate the need for collection services also in German-speaking Europe. And at least 3 trainers, which are just educating call center agents to do the proper, let's say, communications, not to the end customers, but to those organizations which need the collection service, and how they argument. And on the other end, those telecommunication companies which have these incasso, it's called in German, incasso companies, which do give me the money or I hit you, moderately speaking. We have the Black Man incasso, we have Moscow incasso. The name is Program, fluently Russian spoken. And there are some areas where I would like to know, do you see that nowadays? Because you mentioned that it was in Argentina or in Latin America, that do they have now in ZOHO a partner solution in Freshworks, in Salesforce, in Sugar, where they could do money collection services?
If you buy the suite, you know, ZOHO One, maybe Microsoft Dynamics, you should be able to do it. And you know, you go to the App Exchange, you will see it. You know, whatever marketplace they have.
Around.
Yeah, I think that they have it, but you also have workflows, and you can build that, and it could be as simple as finding a stage at the opportunity level or you close that opportunity and you create another one for collections and you put the steps and the flows and everything. It can be done now. Okay.
I think you're having a different terminology here. So when you are saying collections, you mean invoicing, billing, I guess, Jesus.
Well, you invoice, you bill, and then you go after the money.
Yeah, whereas Ralph is already focusing on the stage where you
Collect.
get collections
I know,
agency because of
accounts receivable versus collect.
All that in a sequence, you know, all that in a sequence, you know. But this is the key thing, you know, being collection could be another functionality. Okay. I think, you know, it doesn't matter if you have 20 clouds or you have one cloud, okay, or you own your own, you know, iPass, you know, your pricing needs to be simple.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
needs to be simple. Whatever that formula is, it needs to be simple. Your pricing cannot deter me of doing something else. Okay, your pricing cannot deter me to expand the functionality in your application. Okay, your pricing should not, you know, allow me to increase the technical depth because I rather hire a few developers to do something versus, you know, buying the module because the module is too expensive. You know, so companies, you know, if you have customer success managers and you have account managers, they have to look at how you can facilitate that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's for me is very important. And not all solutions are going to provide everything. You know, we know that, you know, but, you know, whatever that pricing structure needs to be simple. I think that's a very key, you know, more than anything, you know, from that. That will be my advice. And I see that today. I see customer, you know, I got to move from X to this other customer because I need to reduce, or I need to go to here because I don't want to spend more money in these other tools. You know, and what I do a lot with Solvis, you know, we do assessments. Okay, give me your pricing, give me what you're using. You know, let's see how we can improve. We have done that with ZOHO, with Hotspot, with Sugar, with Salesforce, and sometimes, you have to keep with Salesforce and keep, you know, stay with the other one, or replace one or the other one, or upgrade. But at least, you know, the consultant is telling the consultant on how to improve the pricing. You know, and you don't need that. It needs to be simple. It needs to be simple. Agile.
Out of curiosity, Jesus, I'm doing a bit nitty-gritty research on field service technicians and on field service solutions. How is it in Latin America? Are there many needs, or is there a dedicated need for field service solutions?
Well, before field service, you have CPQ. So you know, doing the whole, you know, prospect to cash, you know, when you put the quote and you place the order, you check for inventory, and then you deploy that. So field service is part of that, you know, deploying that product to be installed, and then you have, you know, the fixing. So you're deploying people to fix stuff, you know, telcos, cables, you know, hardware companies, you know, that's part of that. It's probably more into the manufacturing part of Mexico and Brazil, you know, but it's not something that, you know, people say I need a field service tool. Sometimes, you know, you have SAP integrated with Salesforce, you can do something, or you have to go and buy a dedicated field service module, you know, but it's part of the ecosystem. But, you know, it is there. It's part of the equation as well in Latin America, but it's not like it's a big market. Right now, you know, it's everything is, you know, people are focusing on spending less money, or you see the other way around. I need to get the full blown, you know, customer service, sales, marketing, you know, vertical solution. You know, you get the two extremes right now in Latin America.
How about price optimization?
Yeah, but I think more into the manufacturing. You know, the people will look more into SAP, Oracle, you know, Microsoft than the CRM tool.
Do you see vendors that we are in pricing? Do you see vendors like Zilliant or Price Effects, Vendavo somewhere?
No, I haven't yet. No, I'm very sure they're out there, but I haven't come across them. A lot of CPQ. I'm coming across a lot of CPQ.
Okay. So only CPQ, yeah?
Yeah.
How are they using that?
You need to put the order, and you need to be sure that you deliver whatever you put in the order. But there's no pricing optimization. It's more, where's the inventory? How we can put this together, get the signature, and you deploy it.
Okay. So
now, but there's a lot of back office from the commerce side. So the B2B, B2C commerce, that is happening a lot. And the only CRM aspect that people are doing, that's where you get the send desk, you get fresh desk, ZOHO desk, just they put it behind the commerce platform, B2B or B2C. They integrate, with the commerce platform that VTech, Shopify, even Amazon or Mercado Libre, Salesforce, Oracle, SAP. I think customers that have SAP Commerce, they have Microsoft. They have Microsoft Back Office, SAP Commerce. They have Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and they have the CTP or the database somewhere in Amazon. So you get a lot. Again, I'm very sure they have some client server application in somewhere. That doesn't mean that they're moving to the cloud.
In how far does this zoological garden of different solutions increase their pricing or their cost, basically?
Yeah.
Is there a case for a zoological garden still?
Again,
differently spelled.
I don't know. Depends. I haven't. I don't know. Depends. I mean, that's that. You got me that one, Thomas. I think. I mean, you got me that one.
I mean, it's the question is best of suite or best of breed, right? So this is what we are looking for.
I don't see it like that. I think it's whatever costs me less. I mean, that's the reality in Latin America. Whatever costs me less. You might have IT might have some guidance. The marketing might have some budgets. But at the very end, what will cost me less? That's the bottom line. I mean, I could be, if I move to the cloud, cost me less. OPEX versus CAPEX, or it's a one suite versus two suites. Best of breed versus a bunch of other tools. Local pricing, easy pricing, financing, all that together. It's a soup. Latin America is a soup.
So
best value,
best of value.
and then people will go.
We've spent a lot of time talking about how the vendors that we know and are familiar with can better serve Latin America, Central South America, such places. Should we be looking more into any regional developers, any homegrown products that maybe,
I have a few. I have one for social media. Presently, I have one that competes. That has a CDP out of Argentina. There's many local solutions, especially because they can be locally. They have it in Amazon locally, or in Azure or IBM servers. And there's another one, Ogo, I want to say, something like that, forgot the name. Or they run open source, to minimize, the pricing. Yeah, that's, and there's, I don't know, probably like 200 or so CRM that run on WhatsApp in Latin America. So yeah, there's this, you have everything, there's plenty of software companies, vendors locally that, they're a good alternative, based on pricing.
Yeah,
they're out there.
It's only when I talk to you that I realize just how ignorant I am about that whole market.
Yeah. I mean, there's they're out there. There's many of them out there, so many. Yeah, I think it's based on the value, but in Latin America, value means pricing, inflation, local currency. You can do the ROI, but when you put the conversion rate and the inflation,
it's a good statement. It's a good statement by Sven. However, I don't see a single vendor that works like that, because all of them do revenue first.
Yeah, I know.
They need to protect their revenues.
SAS has been 25 years, I believe, 25 years in Mexico, so they know how to do it locally. Microsoft, they know how to do it locally. There are options out there.
There are, That's good. It's called competition, right?
Yeah, and that's what I like the approach that ZOHO One ZOHO One has. They're look at ZOHO One. I'm gonna leave it like that. They open offices in Querétaro, not in Mexico City. They want to reduce the cost locally. They're opening offices in Bogota, in Chia, outside Colombia. Again, they want to reduce. They are not in Bogota. They are not in Mexico City. They're going after talent that is local, reachable, in those areas. So all that stuff is coming down from that point of view. So that's very important. So they're focusing on the local market. So that they want to do it. And I can give you one example. I'm very sure I think you complaints. I'm going to say the vendors: Salesforce, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, Genesis, Five9, Amazon. They all call me, "Hey, Jesus, I want to sell you a CRM."
Honestly,
if they're doing that to me and to you, and I have this conversation with Paul and Brent, how they look at the mentality. Imagine how they're going to do it locally.
And if after they listen to this episode, they should know that you already have one.
And that cost of wasting money calling me and calling everybody else, is the cost that you guys, the companies pay for that cost.
They're making the mistake that they're going to listen.
No, not only listen, but do the homework up front to sell a consultant who is consulting on CRM and CX, a CRM plain spoken without any knowledge if he needs one. I first sought out, is there a pain, my friend? Can I help you? Can I deliver you a benefit? Well, no. Probably we have a coffee together. And Sven, you are a bit late, not in the conversation, but also in the assumption that he is not customer-centric. If you would have joined a little earlier, you would have honestly known that for a long time.
I think he's becoming like Esteban Koski.
Ouch!
No, listen. We need to add, we need to understand, but that goes back to the simplicity. Your selling process needs to be simple. The way you demo, the way you set up your trial, the way you do all this stuff, it needs to be simple. It cannot be complicated. The moment that the CRM becomes complicated and nobody's using the tool, and I'm paying all this stuff, I don't know. I mean, that needs to change. Bob Stutz has been saying that forever, the whole industry, and he's being all of it,
But even he didn't succeed in that.
And that's a funny thing. The industry hasn't changed. We're selling CX, but they're not doing CX. They're not doing CRM, and that costs money. They're wasting money. Make it simple. Make the selling process, your marketing, your customer success, your pricing. Make it simple. Make it customer centric. Make it simple. That's my advice. That's it.
I honestly didn't want to be offensive to our friend Sven. It's simply that when you enter the classroom a little later, you have to catch up a bit faster what the messaging was on the road.
And that was a smiley. All good. So I think we had have a recurrent team. Simplify your pricing.
Make it simply smart.
Make it understandable. make it understandable.
And it won't be easy, but you need to start doing it. You need to start doing it. It has to be. It needs to be simple. It needs to be simple. Whatever that equation is. I'm not telling you to change your business model, vendors. We're not telling you to change, your pricing structure tomorrow. But you need to start thinking. I'm very sure they're doing this somehow, somewhere. Or maybe the companies that they sell to, they have unlimited budget, but that's going to change eventually.
So wrapping
but
up,
I think it's down.
for wrapping up, Jesus, what would be your advice in two directions? One, to the vendors, to even listen more carefully to the demand of the organizations in Southern America, Latin America, and to the consumers who are looking for appropriate solutions where they should look into.
I think that you need to definitely have some consulting selling. You cannot go and sell your product. I think that's old news. And companies are still selling product. You need to sell a process. You need to sell a customer acquisition process. You need to sell onboarding processes. You need to sell customer satisfaction processes. And those, they have to be like in Lego parts, so you can connect them, So if you're gonna sell me, a financial solution for my bank, okay, yeah. Don't just sell me, the marketing, the sales, and the customer service. Sell me the data layer, sell me the integration layer, sell me, the inbound marketing, sell me the outbound marketing. I said, sell me doesn't mean I'm going to buy everything, but I know, what does it mean? What are my incentives? Because then they're going to sign the contract for 3 years. No, let the customer decide they want it for 1 year, for 6 months, whatever. You have your own rules, but be clear about it, so you have to be more consultative more than anything else. And I think one of the key things that, in going back to pricing, we're still forgetting, that even though if I sell a vertical solution, I need to work the horizontal stuff. I need to integrate the marketing automation to the CRM, and I need to have a common data model. That needs to work. If that doesn't work, you need to have the core stuff working. So, and there's many cases in there. So I think you got to be more consulting more than anything else. And the data layer, especially, that's my issue with many of the companies that are buying, many clouds. So this is not only Salesforce, okay? But you don't have a data layer, a common data model, it's going to be difficult to implement it, and it doesn't mean that you're going to go vertical, so that's very important. So, HubSpot is doing that, Microsoft is doing that, many others are doing that at different levels. Again, if this is complicated, maybe the data layers that you need to implement the complete full CDP for everything with the master data management, customer 360, could be many things. But, I've been talking the last 5 weeks to multiple vendors, and they're still selling me the product, the box. They're selling me the version of the product. And I go, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, I said me, because I'm working on behalf of other customers. Sell me the whole thing. Let's see how it fits in my business model, and then from there, I can be more specific what to buy. And I know the race for all the vendors is to go vertical. That's fine, but focus on the small details. Yeah. Don't sell me the marketing CDP. Don't do that, please.
That is the next. Well, it started from where. That is probably the next CRM convo, because what it needs is not a CDP. What it needs is a common joint data model. That is probably
with functionality that keeps the data clean.
Yep.
Hallelujah!
Yep.
Hallelujah!
Yep.
Like the hell.
And a consistent data model is ways
I did that for DHL back then. I have the data set of the addresses for each country. And we used to do lookups.
Look who we have there. No, that means Scotch tape.
Yeah, Scotch tape.
or duct tape.
Duct tape, no duct tape.
All duct tape.
And that's the problem today. We are putting duct tape and, I don't know, WD-40, to maintain the data clean. That's, I still don't understand.
Let's keep that for the next CRM convo because we're already way over time.
But it's good to hear that you are following my credo. There are even some more stuffs and points and pain points to focus on in such a panel where we discuss pricing in a broader approach and in other topics.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Muchas gracias, amigo. Es un show con me gusta mucho.
I like how you started. You did my intro. You found me somewhere in Germany by looking at some article.
And also, thanks to Sven because he has good comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are going offline now, unless Marshall has famous last words.
Other than goodbye and thanks for watching. No, I'm good.
Take care.
Okay.
Go Marlins, Marshall. Go Marlins.
Woo!